Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. And, of course, on Sunday before a normal game, a 1 o'clock Sunday game, not all of this Monday night madness and overtime. Luke Jones joins us now. We're rubbing the sleep out of our eyes, as is everyone in Baltimore. A lot of hangovers on Tuesday based on the pre-gaming I saw on Monday night down at the Purple Crab Cake. Look, we've seen a lot of things, and, we're going to talk about them. You and I have been at this 13 years together. I've been at this from the minute that the Oakland Raiders rolled off the boat out at Memorial Stadium in Ray Lewis. I don't know where Monday night ranks, but certainly of this era for lots and lots of young people. And I keep going back to the fact that I walk through the stadium, around the stadium, underneath the stadium, up top of the stadium. There are different people in this stadium than there were when that Seattle thing happened 15 years ago. Crazy games. The Minnesota snow game wasn't that long ago. I would venture to say 15, 20% of those people were around and going to games during that era. I think it's a different fan base. It's younger people. It's people that didn't see Ray Lewis dance. And whatever that was on Monday night, it's a thrill. It's not the greatest moment of my life as a Raven fan because I've been at this a while. But if you're new to the party and they're trying to brand build off of memories and what's going to happen, and even this whistle that I don't agree with before the games, not because I'm an old fart, but because it was about the wire or murder, there's a whole new thing now. They've managed a new thing, and Monday night and the first game, the Chiefs game, those kinds of memories bring people back at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
How about the entire season? I mean, it's just been that crazy. A 4-1 football team, and you can literally switch a play here or there. They could be undefeated. They could be 1-4.
I mean, that's just Campbell's finger on Monday night, right? Literally, if that ball goes up and through, they lose. Period.
If the Colts have someone remotely as good as Justin Tucker kicking, how about that? I mean, it's
not
just
an injured kicker, as apparently he was, right?
But you just said it. You mentioned the Seattle comeback, which, by the way, was 18 years ago. So it's even longer than you're thinking. 2003, right? Just crazy. I mean, the snow game was 8 years ago at this point in time.
Everything in my life was I with my wife or was I not? Was it before 3 or after? And
right.
I know that was after 3, but it felt like it was 8 or 9. You're telling me it was 3. Billy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was the famous Anthony Wright to Marcus Robinson game.
Wow.
Crazy. But let's go back even farther. This was the first time a Ravens quarterback has thrown for over 400 yards since Vinny Testaverde against the St. Louis Rams the very first year. I mean, 25 years ago. Nestor, you're talking about 10 or 15 years ago.
Flacco never had a 400-yard game?
He never had a 400-yard game.
That really, really blows my mind. I would have told you Flacco had a 500-yard game at some point in some win against somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought maybe against the Browns or one of the bad Bengals team. The Bengals weren't bad during Flacco's era, but that's crazy. That's an amazing stat because 400's not all that magical a number in the league. I mean, it was when I was a kid. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, 400 yards happened 5 times a year. Now it happens 5 times a weekend.
But so many people in the stands on Monday night weren't alive when Vinny Testaverde did that. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, we're not just talking about kids who don't remember it. You literally had people in their early 20s at the game on Monday night and tailgating prior who weren't alive when that happened. And it's just, one, it makes you feel old, right? But it's also just remarkable. And I look at what happened, and you just mentioned Joe Flacco and him never throwing for 400 yards. We're starting to see a new gold standard here. And look, it's really hard to win a Super Bowl. And Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. And Dan Fouts never won a Super Bowl. And you can go and find other Hall of Fame or Hall of very good quarterbacks who never won a Super Bowl.
Well, let's go through Randall Cunningham and the guys that did that, right? Exactly.
But my point is, Lamar Jackson's creating a new gold standard in this town of the era of the Ravens. I'm not going to put him with Johnny Unitas just yet. Let's be clear about that. But in terms of what he is already doing in his very brief career, he is not yet 25 years old. It is utterly remarkable. Let's play a little quarterback guessing game. Lay out the scenario on Monday night. Team's down 19 points in the second half, down 16 points in the fourth quarter. The defense is absolutely terrible. I mean, that defense stunk. The running game was a non-factor. And your quarterback proceeds to throw for well over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns after halftime. If you give one guess, not knowing the teams involved, one guess, a quarterback bringing his team back to victory on that, who are you guessing? Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's been the gold standard as far as young quarterbacks. I'm not talking about Tom Brady at age 44.
In the history of the game, how many quarterbacks have thrown for 300 yards in the fourth quarter and come back from that kind of deficit? It's really hard to do. I mean, that's when you're down 3 touchdowns.
It's very hard to do. But the one guy
probability, what was their win probability down 16 points in the fourth quarter?
I don't know what it was. I know
under
it was
5% probably.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was up to, I think their win probability, Indianapolis's win probability was up to, I think, 97, 98% at one point in time. But that was Mahomes, like what he did on Monday night. It absolutely was. I mean, this guy threw for over 400 yards. He completed all but 6 passes, 37 of 43. I mean, that's absolutely incredible.
It's Phil Simms Super Bowl kind of crazy, right?
But
efficiency.
Well over 10 yards per attempt, not just completing a bunch of passes, but completing passes down the field and putting his receivers in positions to get yards after the catch. I mean, that was the peak of brilliance as a passer on Monday night. And I think it's time, and I've been as guilty. I don't even want to say guilty, because this has been a progression. He is getting better as a passer. And that's speaking about someone who was the unanimous MVP 2 years ago and led the league in touchdown passes. But there was that question of, can this get better? Meaning the passing game. Can Lamar Jackson get better as a passer? Can he literally win you the game when nothing else is going right for you? And that question before used to be more so, well, Lamar can run for 130 yards and he'll throw some touchdowns and certainly make some big plays. But if you're in a position where you have to throw and that's all you can do is throw, there was plenty of skepticism that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson couldn't do that. Well, he's doing that. He's done that the last couple of weeks. Their running game, for all the talk about continuing the streak in Denver and Vic Fangio getting, all bent out of shape and the pettiness that went back and forth to some degree, their running game was a non-factor last week. And they won because Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball at a high level. Once again on Monday night, only their defense this time around was awful. I mean, it's ironic that it's the first 400-yard passing game for a Ravens quarterback since 1996, because that defense was 1996, like on Monday night. It really was. So for Lamar Jackson to do that, to erase a 19-point deficit, to throw for over 400 yards, to throw 4 touchdown passes, to do that, so much of that in the second half when they absolutely needed it, was nothing short of brilliant. And it wasn't talking about Lamar as this unique anomaly, this novelty, this exception to the norm. This was Lamar Jackson doing brilliant things that any quarterback would consider to be brilliant, throwing the football. So if he can do that in those circumstances in prime time, when you're absolutely looking at a really disappointing victory, and let's face it, Indianapolis was a kick away from, a number of plays away from this outcome being much different, and we're having a much different conversation about this football game because of how much went very poorly on Monday night, but it didn't. And the reason why? It's number 8, Lamar Jackson, who was absolutely brilliant on Monday night. I don't have the words to describe how great he was. Not good, not very good, great. He was brilliant on Monday night. And the Ravens, if they had merely a good quarterback on Monday night, they lose that game, and they lose it pretty easily because of how poorly they played in other areas.
Well, my quote after the game was when you shared his final stats, because I was watching the game and you shared 37 for 43 for 442. I gave it up at 390. Remember, he was in the upper threes, and we're like, hey, Lamar's whatever it was, 33 or 39 or whatever the number was at that time. And I thought, oh, that's impressive. Then I saw at the end when they won, once you win, it's different talking about the stats, because Vinny had a lot of stats. We don't talk about Vinny's stats, right? And I tweeted out that's Superman shit. I mean, I don't know what else to say. 37 to 43 for 442 yards. That's video game stuff. That's not. No one does that in the National Football League. Not even against the 96 Ravens that happened.
As I said a couple minutes ago, There's one guy who's been doing that the last couple of years. Patrick Mahomes is the closest. He's the guy you talk about, right? Kansas City's had a lot of games where they, they're lying in the weeds. They make some mistakes. They're trailing by a couple scores, and you're thinking, oh, this, it was the Browns week 1, for example, and you're thinking, wow, Kansas City, they're going to fall, and suddenly Patrick Mahomes does Patrick Mahomes like things, and Lamar Jackson. It's not just what he did over the course of the full game. He went 29 of 32 for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns after halftime. After halftime, he threw for 335 yards, 3 incompletions. I mean, just like I said, it's Patrick Mahomes like what he did on Monday night. And I say that with the utmost respect and appreciation for what Lamar Jackson did. He'd be the first to tell you, Patrick Mahomes has been the gold standard among this current younger era of younger quarterbacks in the league right now. That he was MVP the year before Lamar. He's won a Super Bowl, which Lamar is yet to do. I mean, he's been that guy that does these Superman like things. And it was Monday night where Lamar Jackson did a fantastic Patrick Mahomes impression. He also led the Ravens in rushing. No one else could run the ball. He managed to have 62 rushing yards as well. So that's something Patrick Mahomes can't do, by the way, to that degree. So it was absolutely brilliant, and it was an absolute thriller of a football game, and everything that went wrong for the Ravens. And we've talked about this, how Lamar Jackson has already entered that rare territory that you could speak of only a few guys in the history of this organization. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed are really the big two. I don't even know if you'd put Terrell Suggs or Haloti Ngata in that territory, but
or John
guys
Ogden, who's in the Hall of Fame, right?
I'd say Jamal Lewis at his peak. It was brief, but at his absolute best.
You talking about dominating the position or electrifying?
No, I'm talking. Well, electrying, yes, but guys that cover up deficiencies, guys that are overcoming other shortcomings for your football team. I'd say Jamal Lewis, being a 2,000-yard rusher when Kyle Bowler and Anthony Wright are your quarterbacks. Yeah.
Single-handedly winning a game.
Yeah.
I mean, games. Yes.
No question about it. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And they've had other great players, and other guys are going to be Hall of Fame players, and other guys that are going to be in the Ring of Honor who were not that. I mean, they just weren't. So to see Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's done brilliant, insane, special things before, but to see him do what he did on Monday night it was breathtaking. It really was. And you knew when the Ravens won the coin toss, I mean, Chuck Clark said it, Marquise Brown said it, other guys said it. They knew the game was over. When the Ravens won the toss, they knew Lamar was going to march them right down the field and score the winning touchdown. And sure enough, they did. And he was 6 for 6 in overtime as well.
I think I tweeted something of positive nature because I am Baltimore positive. I don't know if you've read that about us. Luke Jones is here. He is Baltimore Luke. I will positively be having a crab cake at Nick's Grandstand Grill up at Timonium on Friday. I was there on Sunday. I saw Tommy. I'm like, come on back. Let's do a Maryland crab cake tour. So we're going to be there. It's all presented by the Maryland Lottery. Let yourself play. We'll be telling you more about that all week long. I thought there was no chance they were going to lose it overtime, right? But I thought I was peak Twitter. I mean, I had a Tony Linhart reference in there saying he would have made that one in the Colts jersey. That harkens back to the Fog game and the Miami Dolphins that these young people don't know about that I remember. But Luke is here. What a week, right? I mean, it's going to be a short week. You mentioned the Chargers. I told you on Monday we would pay for that, and we did, but it turned out okay. It is amazing we could sit here talking about Lamar all night, Lamar. They did a lot wrong in this game, right? I mean, they fell behind by 3 touchdowns. They did not play defense in this game. I don't know at what point we're allowed to talk about the deficiencies instead of just, do the old Three Stooges, 3 cheers for us, we won. But the Chargers are coming, and they were lucky to win, and I know it's a nice win, but they didn't play well for long stretches of the football game on Monday night. And I guess at some point we'll talk about that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, the Ravens are going to be talking about it this week. They're going to be working on that this week. I mean, let's face it. you can hang your hat on knocking Teddy Bridgewater out of the game in Denver and doing what you did against Drew Lock, who's not a starting quarterback. I think that's obvious. And you saw what the Broncos, the issues they had going to Pittsburgh. Beyond
Second
that,
half of the Detroit game,
they
by the
played
way.
poorly for at least part of. Yeah, they played poorly for at least part of every other game. And this Chargers team, if you don't play better defense than what we saw on Monday night, I mean, that was awful. That was terrible defense for most of the night on Monday night. I mean,
well, then
let's face it, Nestor. Carson Wentz hasn't.
Too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a
there was that. Yeah, I mean, there were issues with penalties on special teams up until the block kick, and I mean, there was a lot that went wrong, and the offensive line, run blocking wasn't there, running backs were a non-factor. I mean, it's a lot that went wrong. That's why I was saying Lamar Jackson's in that peak Ed Reed, peak Ray Lewis, peak Jamal Lewis territory where he's covering up a lot of not so great things about this football team right now. So it's where you look at this team right now and say, all right, well, you have Lamar Jackson, you have a chance and you're going to win games. But right now, is this a great Ravens team? Is this a good Ravens team? Has this been more of a lucky Ravens team? Well, I don't know where they fall on that spectrum. But when you have number 8 at quarterback playing the way that he's played so far here in 2021, if he's out there, you have a chance and you can win games and you can win a lot of games and you can do special things. So just speaks to the need for him to be upright and healthy and on the field. And if he is, then great. The Ravens have a chance against anyone, but you're right. There's a lot about this game to be concerned about. And again, you look at what the Chargers have been able to do. A shootout classic game with the Browns on Sunday. Justin Herbert threw 4 touchdowns. He only had about 390 passing yards on Sunday. So he's not quite Lamar Jackson, but we've talked about how special of a talent he is. So he's coming to town. So you said it, Ravens on a short week. They've got some work to do. They've got some corrections that need to be made. Tackling, again, left a lot to be desired. Second level of the defense, a lot to be desired. Anthony Averett, who had played so well through the first 4 games, just a nightmare of a night for him. So they've got a lot of work to do. But again, even with that acknowledgement, even with talking about the injuries and the flaws and certain deficiencies this team might have, Lamar Jackson, 2 words, you have a chance and you have a good chance and you're feeling really good about those chances, even if you're going up against tough competition. But certainly the Ravens know that there's a lot to clean up from Monday night, even with Lamar Jackson's unbelievable performance.
The 4-1 first place Baltimore Ravens home for another month. Luke will be at home out in Owings Mills. All of it brought to you by our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast. I saw the Haloti Nada commercials getting unearthed. So the grunting and the groaning and making me hungry for chicken around midnight on Monday night. Big shout out to Royal Farms for that. And also our friends at Planet Fitness. I had Victor Brick on last week. It is you're moving your body this month. Get on over to Planet Fitness. Save some money, save some time, and get a structured workout in a safe environment. Our friends at Planet Fitness have been sponsoring us from the beginning, and purple's part of their color. It's a purple kind of day. It's a purple kind of week around here. Luke can be found, Baltimore Luke, out on Twitter. I am me out on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat and everywhere all week long. We will be bringing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour to Timonium on Friday to Nick's Grandstand Grill right at the racetrack. You know where it is. Jump off on Padonia or Timonium. Make your way down. Say hello. We'll be there from 2 until 5, telling some stories, all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. Let yourself play. We're going to continue to talk about Lamar Jackson and winning football. We're going to present the Maryland Crab Cake Tour down at Mother's from last Friday with all the ladies later on this week. In a short week, I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore, we never stop talking. Number 8 and Purple Miracles and Lamar Jackson.